Chapter 7. Bicycles Built for Four. Szifra coasted into my life with two teenage boys. If a couple relationships are tandems, she and her boys were pedaling a triple, a bicycle built for three. At tandem events, you might see a triple and infrequently even a few bikes with four positions, quads. Most quads seem to be family bikes. They have two intermediate seats above pedal systems modified for young children with short legs. The real power comes from the two adult riders, but enthusiastic young people can add a meaningful boost at critical times. Szifra and her boys had metaphorically ridden relationship quads twice, but each previous captain had hit a bump, let go of the handlebars, and the bike had crashed. Szifra and the boys survived each of the crashes with only serious internal wounds. After both crashes, the three of them climbed back on, Szifra taking the captain's seat, and continued their ride pulling an empty saddle. Each time they managed to maintain their balance and to eventually detach the empty saddle. When I entered Szifra's life, the three of them didn't need or want a new captain. The boys were ready to ride single bikes. When her stepdaughter left for Utah, Szifra invited me to come to her house for a second date. Her large, white, antique colonial was perched on a small rise above a busy, yellow-lined road. The paved driveway rose sharply up to the level of the house and ended in a large oval drive, shaded by a couple of huge, mature oak trees that stood in the patchy grass of the median. The reasonably kept but rambling structure had a low addition added to connect the older part of the house to an attached two-story, two-car garage. I arrived and slowly circumnavigated the oval. I was impressed by the size of the lot, which had pockets of tangled brush creeping out of its far corners. Beside the house was a 2/3 size asphalt basketball court with regulation height hoops. Szifra's gray van and an older dark blue Nissan sedan were pulled onto the verge of the median, across from the entrance into the addition. I pulled in beside the Nissan and took a deep breath. Szifra had said her older son, in his second year at college, 2 hours away, was home. I felt like I was entering the citadel of a family that had come through a brutal siege. The drawbridge was let down for me, but everything was standing ready to return to the hunkered down mode. I was an intruder in his territory, their keep. This wasn't just a coffee date. This time my stomach was tight. This time I had something to gain, to prove, to lose. Szifra greeted me at the door to the addition with her marquee smile. She invited me in, and we took an immediate left through another door into a large modern kitchen. Her older son stood in the middle of the room and greeted me with a warm hello, an easy smile, and he walked over for a handshake. Szifra stands a petite 5'4". At the time she had dark hair with that white streak and brown eyes. Her older son was a surprising contrast, a lean, muscular 6'4" with blonde hair and blue eyes. At 5'10", I had to look up to meet his gaze. Szifra walked us out of the kitchen, through a small formal dining room, and into an antique-filled living room that felt lived in and not at all stuffy. One entire wall was dominated by a large open fireplace. Once we left the kitchen and moved into the original house, the ceiling came down almost to the door frames. Szifra's son followed us, and when I turned to look at him, the ceiling floated just above his head. But in the Alice in Wonderland world of the shrunken room we were in, he carried himself with the easy fluidity of an athlete. It struck me that he was a serious Queen's knight, standing ready to protect his monarch. Szifra sat on a mustard yellow antique couch. Her son lowered himself into an overstuffed chair near the couch, and I sat across from them in a wooden straight-back chair. Her son turned his head deliberately, looking at Szifra, then me, waited a beat, and with impeccable timing declared, "Isn't this interesting? I'm sitting here chaperoning my mother and her date." So this was what I was getting into.